Welcome to Brand Me. I'm Preston Konrad, and on this show, we'll talk all things branding, from launching a product line to owning your side hustle. We'll talk to the movers, the shakers, the thought leaders. What do you say we finally stop focusing on brands X, Y, and Z and focus on Brand Me? Let's start the show. Today's episode is brought to you by my brand, Preston Konrad Home. Living a stylish life does not have to be overly complicated or expensive. The magic of home decor is really made through the fun finishing touches, which quite too often come with big box middlemen and luxury brand price tags. With Preston Konrad Home, everybody can now inject major style into their space with minimal effort and no furniture shopping required with our new luxury home fragrance collection. Just in time for fall, you can choose from 5 stunning luxury candle scents, all made in America, or our new hand wash collection, both of which will instantly transport yourself to another world while transforming your space at the very same time. As a listener of today's show, you can take 10% off of your purchase of any single item on Preston Konrad Home using the offer code BRANDME. That's PrestonKonradHome.com, offer code BRANDME.
Well, I think it's the fact that we get to build it from the ground up. That's what was really exciting, that we get to create a foundation of what the brand ethos is.
On today's episode, I am sitting down with Garrett Swan and Tom Spate. They are the co-founders of the men's underwear brand Alphx. And this episode is really interesting if you are looking to start your own brand and perhaps enter into a partnership with a friend or a colleague to start this company. And they'll talk about working together, building a brand from the ground up, coming from a background working for larger brands and doing things much more nimbly and creating a community around their brand. So this episode is full of gems and nuggets for you hustler and entrepreneurs out there. I think you will find a wealth of information. Without further ado, here is Tom and Garrett. Hi, Garrett. Hi, Tom. How are you?
Hi, Preston.
Hi, Preston.
Guys, I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. I'm wearing my Alphx underwear, which is probably TMI for a podcast, but we're going to talk all about underwear. So I hope everyone's ready. You guys, I'm so proud of what you've done. And I know, Tom, you and I are just meeting. Garrett and I go back relatively long time through the fashion industry, through the influencer world, the creator world. But you guys founded Alphx, which is a men's inclusive underwear brand that I am a big fan of. And Garrett, I have a question for you. I'd love to know tell me a bit about how this idea came to be, from being kind of a man about town that everybody knows, that creator, that face, that model that everyone waves hi to at a party. How did you go from being that guy to being the founder of a company with Tom?
Well, it's interesting to create, you create your own brand, the Garrett Swan being my own brand on social media, that I got, the fortune of brand partnerships with all these brands and learning about their the trajectory of their brands and how they've grown and what they've done. And I've always in the back of my head, I've wanted to do this. My background is more about, I was an actor, I was on television, and I did that pretty well, but I think I wanted more. And, I had met Tom about 4 years ago. We met at a To Exist event, and I walked in the room and he apparently recognized me from Instagram. He goes, I think you followed me. Am I correct?
That's what I'm saying, Garrett.
Yeah.
Everyone knows you.
Right.
So, and we just became instant friends, and through the partnerships I did do, it was always kind of like, why don't I do my own thing? And underwear was something I always was fascinated with, because it was always about finding the right pair and the right fit. And I never was very satisfied myself with a lot of brands out there. And it just was the perfect opportune time. And Tom and I, like within 24 hours of each other, had the same idea. And and it was kind of like a magical aha moment, and now we are here, and we have launched, and it's super exciting.
Tom, tell me a little bit about that interaction when you ran into Garrett from the Instagram interaction and how that came to be.
Sure. I joke about this all the time because it's true. You meet people every now and then and it feels like you've known them, like, your whole life. And that was my takeaway from Garrett. I mean, we're very different in many ways. We're learning more about that as we work together, of course. But also I feel like, we had parallel lives. And so, Garrett felt like somebody I would have been friends with, way back when. And so, I don't know, we just hit it off, and then we went to dinner and we stayed in touch. And as Garrett said, I actually had left to exist, and I was trying to decide what the next chapter of my life was going to be. And I said to Garrett, I've been noodling this idea. And he's like, oh my God, I've been thinking about the same idea. And
Wow.
That's how it happened. But I got to tell you, I've always worked for big brands, whether it was, To Exist, Calvin Klein, and they're great. Don't get me wrong. But it's been so freeing to create something and not be encumbered by all of the rules, in terms of you've got corporate overhead that you have to factor into costing, and you've got price points you have to hit for retailers. And so we just set out to make incredibly comfortable underwear that fits really well and not rely on gimmicks or shortcuts, to get there. And that's been our mantra, and we've stayed true to that. Yeah. And I think we're really proud of the outcome thus far.
Yeah, it's so many great nuggets you just said there. The first one, what I think is really interesting is the power of social media to make you feel like you really know these people, right? Like you really feel like you knew Garrett. You feel like you come from another life together where you knew each other. I feel that connection with my customers and my brand. And then Garrett can then take that and connect with his followers on his brand. So that's interesting. And then the big brand thing, I totally feel you. I worked for Ralph Lauren 15 years, American Eagle Outfitters. I know what you're talking. It's like trying to turn a cruise ship instead of a speedboat. And you're like, but we need to turn the kayak really fast.
Exactly.
Right.
So are you seeing in the process of building the brand from the ground up, what was that like not having the support of the big brands or the team size, whether it comes to branding, logo development, website, because you rely on the big brands, you got people to do that stuff for you.
Right.
Well, I think it's the, the fact that we get to build it from the ground up. That's what was really exciting, that we get to create a foundation of what the brand ethos is, to the brand, all the assets that are involved. And, through social media, which I think has really influenced brands in a big way, in the way they advertise, in the way they set out their campaigns. Everything is very influenced by social media. And more so, and to this day, and now we've got TikTok to contend with, because now Instagram's trying to be like TikTok,
Well, we have you to contend with. You're a TikTok star.
Well, that was kind of a fluke. I was told to do TikTok, and I had very few followers. And within a few months, and doing numerous videos, that were apparently hitting the right algorithms, I grew pretty quickly. But, I think this kind of, and Tom, and I really had a lot of very deep discussions about what this brand was, and really how it can be really elevated and different than what most brands are offering today, and especially this whole concept of body positivity and being more comfortable in your own skin, because I think that's a big issue for men, because men are, we're insecure creatures, we have a lot of, we hold on to a lot of our demons, and from that, how can we build a brand that really projects that, to be a better human being, to be better, to shed those layers of the artichoke and get to the heart, right? And to be able to be a better man today. And that's really our brand story.
Did you find a lot of that inspiration coming from your audience, your built-in audience on Instagram? Like, were people messaging you, Garrett, about their needs and wants or their insecurities? And did that help build this brand? Did you kind of already have the focus grouping done essentially in that way because of social?
Well, Tom can speak more about focus groups, and I'll let him speak about that. But I did have a lot of interactions with my followers, and I feel like there's a social responsibility to being, when you're influencing per se, there's a responsibility to really be authentic and be real and be honest with your audience. I think that's really, really, really essential. Because if we're not, people are going to feel like we're pandering to them and lying to them.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom, and you spoke to a lot of focus groups and talked to a lot of guys.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing before I jump in on that. And you asked the difference between big brands and this. And there's a couple of one story that really comes to mind, and it's humbling, right? And I've said that, I always respected the teams that I worked with, now more so than ever.
I bet, me too.
Yeah.
Like I said to Garrett, we don't need a designer. I know the millimeter waistband, everything. So I got this free, subscription to Adobe Illustrator, and there was I was supposed to make an acorn and it was supposed to take 15 minutes. 3 days later, I was like, we need a designer, but also even factories. I remember we got a bill and I called up our contact and said, we don't pay for development samples. That's a cost of doing business. And honest to God, I love her to death. Without missing a beat, she said, call me when you have a business. It was like, so it's those types of things. But as far as the focus groups and all of that, I've been involved in a lot of them. And, where you're behind the glass and they don't know what brand it is. And the reality is we're simple creatures. Guys, nothing changes in all the years I've been in, right? We want to be comfortable. Comfort is king for guys. And so one of the things that I look at or Garrett and I looked at is believe it or not, the average waist circumference of a man in North America is 40 inches, average. Mm-hmm. And you would never know that by looking at assortments or marketing messaging that's out there. Because retailers want, they always go towards the middle, right? So it's mediums and larges. And if you fall on either end of that size spectrum, you're SOL. And if you talk to the retailer, they'll say, oh, no, we capture the need. But the reality is you don't know the need if you never had it to capture you're missing it. You know what I mean?
Totally. And it's such a polar opposite from, I love to exist as well. And you obviously know them very well, having been part of the fabric of that company, but totally polar opposite. When you look at that brand from an output, right, it is 32 waist, rock hard body, gold standard of that fit, and this is totally different. What is that like for you? One
of the things that we really wanted to do was to fit every size. Like most brands, and I'm sure you know this, you fit on a size medium fit model, and then you apply an algorithm up and down, and so the further you get away from the medium, the more the size is off. So we made a decision early on that we wanted to fit multiple sizes on real guys, right? Not fit models. And we did that. And we took the time and COVID gave us more time than we ever thought we would have, to do wear tests, to bring them back in, to tweak it. And you don't get that luxury with a big brand, right? You gotta get those samples for market. So it's go, 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 go. And a lot of times it's, proceed with these changes and go to bulk. And then you cross your fingers and light a candle, right? And so we really had the time to go through all of that. But I'm sorry, Garrett, I stepped on your toes, so I apologize.
No. It's really about this identifiability in the marketplace. Like when you're talking about models that are like ripped up and cut up, like the majority of men, as Tom is saying, a 40-inch waist in the United States, like is the average. Like guys can't relate to that. It relates to women. Women go, oh, that guy's really hot, and and there are a lot of men who are fit, but that can relate to that. But across the board, it's not relatable marketing at all. Those days of, we can feel sexy and we can portray sexy because sexy is, I don't think sexy is really in right now. It's really about being a better human being. Like
totally,
COVID has, this pandemic has really taught us a lesson to be, to look inward and to find those, those things in our life that are not working anymore, and to project our insecurities and to get, and to again, like get back to the heart. Let's go inward. Let's take care of ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And let's be, how can we be better for not just ourselves? Because we have to be better for ourselves before we can be better for everybody else. And so,
it's such an amazing segment and niche to dive deep into in the men's underwear space. I know I feel like I was missing it. I used to style ad campaigns for Target and was always really proud of the body positivity and the inclusion of casting that Target used to do, even just a couple of years ago. But now that you have that story and you have your niche and you have your message, and we've talked a bit about that, I think for people listening, it's interesting to hear a bit more about how the building blocks came together. So you got Tom's expertise in this space, you got Garrett's knowledge, reach, forward-facing personality. Once you came up with the idea and this story, like what was the first thing? Like, is it like writing names down on a piece of paper? Is it like talking about what styles you were going to offer? How, from building it what was the first kind of steps you took to build this brand?
Well, one of the things I've always appreciated is that Garrett and I complement each other so much. Like, I'm the type of the person, I'm a noodler, right? Like, I'm very happy with the spreadsheets. I can tweak a P&L every which way from Sunday. And Garrett's a doer. And so which is great because he'll make appointments or call people. And I'm like, what do you mean we're talking to so-and-so tomorrow? We're not ready, and so it'll force me to get ready. And I think what was terrific was there are some guardrails when it comes to, underwear, right? The number one silhouette in North America is a boxer brief, right? So you have to have that. But we didn't know when we started where our guy was going to fall. We had a target demographic. But for example, at To Exist and Calvin Klein, the brief was a much bigger percentage of the overall business than the boxer brief. And so we didn't know, where we were going to shake out. And so we knew the silhouettes we wanted. We knew we wanted to be about comfort. We knew we wanted something that was new, but not a gimmick. There's so many brands out there. Garrett and I laugh, like 2 pouches to, separate your kibbles and bits. There is no man that I know that has ever had an issue with that. Right. And they create these solutions to premium, strip down the rest of the product, and guys are disappointed. So, we just started with, yes, the building blocks. And then it was, how are we going to do this? And Garrett is, he's just connected, right? Like, he knows everybody. So it's like he found the designer, and then through her, I knew factories, but we knew our minimums were going to be, too small. So we really couldn't do business with them. So it was relying on Anna and her contacts, and everything fell into place. That's the one thing, when you think you're not going to be able to do it and money is tight, we've just stayed the course and we found a way to get here. There are days I don't know how we did it, but I'm certainly grateful for it. And so I think that's the key. It's just sitting down, breaking it into small bites, and then you got a Garrett who just goes, and drags me along with him.
What about Garrett? So these contacts that Tom is talking about, your contacts, your golden Rolodex, is there any fear or ever trepidation there about feeling like you've used too many phone a friends, or maybe I shouldn't reach out to this person, I met them at a party, but they would be the right person that does XYZ? Like, how do you get over that fear of the kind of cold call or the, hey, can you help me out thing? Because I think that's a big point of launching a brand, is who you know and how comfortable you feel going out to them with an ask.
The worst thing they can say is no. And then you know that there's going to be somebody else that's going to say yes, and you just, you kind of have to go into this fearless, you just have to jump in and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, just go in and do it. Like I don't hold myself back from asking favors or asking, I want people to be a part of this, but and I try to present it's like, look, be a part of this in the very beginning, and I promise we will reward you. It's like I hold true to that word, and I think Tom does too. It's that we've had a lot of help. We raised some capital. We got the essential pieces. We really, what it was is to identify who this guy was, right? And and who and what we were going to call this. And I think that the word Alphx came from the word alpha. So we 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 tried to trademark alpha, but that didn't work because we like this idea of redefining the alpha male, this kind of guy today who wants to be better. So, we played around with words and we liked the letter A. And so Alphx really it was Alphx at one time, and then Alphx, and then because we like what we really were fascinated by was the chromosome that all men share. That this wasn't geared towards gay men or straight men or old men or young men. It was about every guy because, regardless of who we are at the end of the day, we're all men who share the same chromosome. We have feelings. We have, we can build a community around this. And it was really about redefining what it is to be a man today, because we've had all these issues like toxic masculinity and the Me Too's and, Black Lives Matter and Asian hate and all of these things that are happening. And how can we address this idea of saying, being inclusive without preaching it, right? That we just are. It's just we welcome every man in. We don't want to rule out anybody. We want everybody to be part of this journey with us. And going back to what you're saying, of you ask favors and you get people excited about what you're doing. It's really the passion behind the brand. And Tom and I are so passionate about this. Like we have put
I feel it every time we get together. I feel it pumping through you, which is something that only a founder feels, right? And it's that special feeling that just radiates out of someone. Do you, and I was a follower before I was a friend, and now I'm a friend and now interviewing you. What's the space like? Because I know I've gone through my own challenges in it of turning a follower into a customer. What's that process been like? And because I think for so many years we were trained to hit a number on Instagram, and then you're like, fuck that number. I need people to actually come and do X, Y, Z. I need them to actually buy something, or I need them to give me their data. I need them to sign up to my email list. I need to know their address, right? It's way past Instagram. What has that process been like for you since your kind of start?
Well, I think it's been a really, it's interesting because people love the messaging. They love the story. I think because no one's seen a product in their hands yet.
I have mine.
You have yours. So you can attest.
Yep.
You can attest. I mean, as I have a pair here ready to show, but
so good.
But I think it's once we get, I think it's really about getting people to trust your vision, and commit to it is really difficult because people are fearful. They don't want, they're very trepidatious about where they want to spend their money. And we, there's a lot. I think once people get it in their hands, they will know, they will be hooked,
Well, it's such a good reason why it's such a good pairing for you and Tom, because someone like Garrett or myself that spent a long time building trust and authenticity with random people, sharing very vulnerable parts of our lives, whether it's our partner or how we cook or where we go on vacation or milestones in our life, builds this bit of trust from our personal brand that then we can meet up with a Tom and say, hey, let's start a real brand. So that inherent trust there, do you think that's been a big factor, Garrett, in bringing kind of a new set of guys to your new brand?
Absolutely, because it's a new journey that I'm on, because technically I'm a business owner now. I am right with Tom, and that we have a business that we're building together, and it's really getting people excited about it. I think one of the things is to really kind of build a community around it, and that's what I am excited to do down the road. Is getting my audience to come out and like touch the product, feel the product, do events around the product to really be involved into the brand, because I think people are sitting behind their phones and their laptops and they're not feeling like they're part of something, right? There's a
100%.
There's a disconnect, I think, from social media. I think that I get so many DMs, and people want to like chat me up and stuff, and it's like, let's get together in person. I'd rather meet you in person, rather than you asking me all of these random questions and having conversations, because there's a disconnect. It's just like text messaging. I like this, I mean, Zoom and Google Meet have changed a lot, but it's still a disconnect, right?
Totally.
I like that. I love that human interaction. In fact, there was a follower I did a picture of. His name is Jordan, and he reached out to me, and I asked him if I could take a picture of him, and he's a larger guy, and I asked if I could take a picture of him, and I would like him to try on the underwear so he could see the fit and get his feedback. And he was lovely, and he was so nervous when he met me, and I was just like, "Look, I'm just a person, I'm not like
Totally.
I'm not going to bite you,
I get that all the time. Having at the shop, people come in and they're so nervous. I'm like, I'm here to ring you up. Like, I'm just working here,
Exactly.
That's amazing. I love that about the community, and I think you're really onto something. I have a question for Tom about because when I think of men's legacy brands, obviously like To Exist or Calvin Klein, or when I think the men's underwear category, wholesale does pop into my brain. Yep. What are your thoughts on, and maybe not as it pertains to your brand, but what's happening with wholesale and how they interact with little brands and cool new brands like ours, like mine and yours? Sure. What do you think the future is there?
It's funny. I think there's just been this seismic shift, right? And COVID has just, sped it up. And so, I think, I love history, right? And I started to think about when the department stores first started coming around in the 19th century, and it was like one place where you could buy curated product, across different categories. And it's become, there's so few left, right? They've all been gobbled up, and those that are left, it's now about these mega brands, and there's really no choice. There's no selection anymore. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was to replicate like a boutique, if you will, online. And so try to remove those barriers that keep people from purchasing things online, particularly underwear that you can't try on, right? So how can we make it easier for you to make a purchase? So we took a size recommender that was out there on the marketplace, but we customized it, right? And so we actually wrote the questions, and we included subjective questions, because sizing is also subjective, right?
Right.
Our tech designer used to tell me all the time, "You're a large," and I'd be like, "But no, I wear medium," because I like things that are just a little more supportive, a little more tight, Yep. And so there's that element that you would never get in a measurement. So we did things like that. There's also, we didn't want shipping to get in the way of making a purchase. So we offer free shipping on any domestic purchase, flat rate on international. We also have a be assured guarantee, because the reality is we avoid superlatives. There's brands out there that say, "I'm the best, I'm the most comfortable," A
lot of that right now, especially in this D2C space, the best X you'll ever try. And it's where's the asterisk? Where's the proof? Says who?
Right. Here's the reality. We're not going to be for everybody, right? There's no, unless we were making bespoke underwear, we're all different. And our size range essentially goes from a 26 to a 46, right? Yep. So there's guys still on either end of that we hope to get to eventually. But we want to get it right first. Yep. And we want to let people tell us what they think about the brand versus us saying we are this, we are that. Because as Garrett said, I've sat through a lot of focus groups, and there's one thing that there's stereotypes out there, right, about millennials. Some of them are true, right? There's suspicion against corporate motives, right? And people have said flat out to me, I'm sick and tired of brands that wrap a pink ribbon around themselves in October and a rainbow in June. And are they pandering for money, or do they really care? And so, we just have to demonstrate what we're about, right? Whether it's the influencers we pick, the guys that we choose, because you can't represent everybody, at one time. And so, we want to get it out there. We know we're going to F up, and when we do, we're going to admit it, right? And so, in fact, we were offering a pre-order discount. There's two of us, right? So shit's going to happen. Excuse my French.
No,
but
of course.
The next morning I went on, and there was still a discount on one part of the site. And so anybody that purchased during that window, even though it didn't ring up, we just automatically, refunded them the difference, because we just want to do right by people. And
that's it's so funny. That's literally leading up to this question I ask everybody about God, how did we go through almost 30 minutes together already? I could talk to you guys for hours. This is so fun. I share the sentiment on those mess ups because I've had plenty of them. Do either one of you have a moment, a branding moment, whether it's in this brand or a previous brand of yours, that you felt like was a major branding fail that turned out to be such a brand blessing in the process of building or growing a business?
I think Garrett alluded to this before. I mean, one of the things, we're so new here that we haven't had major failures yet, and I use yet, but
Yep.
but one of them was the name of the brand, right? I swear in my next life I'm going to be a trademark attorney, because it seems like every word has been trademarked. And so
I went through. I'm on like the name that I thought of all my products that I thought would be the my least favorite, and that's what I got through the trademark attorney.
Exactly.
Right?
So we ended up with Alphx after a list of others, and I'm so glad we did, because to Garrett's point, there's this notion of what it means to be an alpha, which can have certain connotations. We want to redefine it. X is a strong letter. Studies have been shown that people are drawn to the letter X, right? And it also connotes change. It's the chromosome that men and women share. It's an action letter, and so the combination together, we think is really strong. And that's one of those happy accidents, because that's not where we started, but given the situations where we ended up, and we couldn't be happier.
And we love we hired a young designer that was graduating from SVA, and someone I knew, and he knocked it out of the park. All of our branding, we were a little nitpicky on a couple of things, but he knocked it out of the park, and it was so it felt fresh and modern. And the logo stamp on the waistband, we didn't want to have this big Alphx, all over everything. That the brand stamp became a design more than just, it's the A and the alpha, but it's inverted, and it just gave it this beautiful design. And it was as simple as that. And it's rememberable. We want people to walk away remembering us. When they see that brand stamp, they know that signifies Alphx. I mean, look at all the major corporations who have done that, from Target. I mean, everybody
Totally.
knows the bullseye,
I was looking at all the finishing touches of what you're talking about when I first got the underwear that you gifted me, and it's done really well. It's done really well.
It seems like a simple garment, and I know we're running out of time, but we put a lot of thought into things that you may not notice, right? And so, whether it's the percentage of modal for softness and spandex for recovery, I'm on a personal mission to end men's visible binding lines, right? On boxer briefs under trousers. So we have a simple turn back, right? So it's really smooth, stays in place, but you don't see that. We love this idea of inspiration, so we have a tearaway inspirational quote, on the inside. It's so
cute.
As well as
a fortune cookie.
As well as
really
the labels, because guys hate labels; they're uncomfortable, and we didn't want to do a heat stamp because we think that looks kind of messy. So we came away with this clean tearaway. We have there's a gusset for more support, in room in a boxer brief. There's just all of these bells and whistles. We even have a locker loop so you can be tidy and hang your underwear up. But the one thing that's not gimmicky that we didn't know how it was going to go over, and so far we're exceeding our expectation, is this idea of 2 leg widths. It's something we all know as guys from denim. You can buy an athletic fit or a slim fit or whatever, but for some reason it's never existed in underwear. And you can have a medium waist and big legs, either genetically or because you work out. And so guys were forced to choose between a baggy waist and comfortable legs or tourniquets on their legs, and a waist that fits. And, we planned it 18% of the buy thinking, we'll expand. It's 25%, and so guys are really responding to that as a true need. And so we couldn't be more excited. And we think that the time is now for the men's market. Women's has been doing this for a while with brands like Third Love and Knix, and nobody's really been moving on inclusive sizing and body positivity in men's. And so it's time.
I love what you're doing. I think the key for all of our listeners, I know what I'm thinking about, is constantly innovating, whether it's a personal brand or a product launch that you are developing, but innovate, talk to your community, develop a community, and strive for the best product that you can deliver, and all the hurdles will be worth it.
Right.
You'll still have plenty to come. I know I do. Can I get an amen up in here? Totally.
Amen?
Hey, Garrett, we're out of time, but how can everybody find your brand online?
So they can go to alphx.com, alphx.com, or they can shop either on Facebook or Instagram at Alphx. So it's BEALPHX, because we wanted this kind of directional marketing. So is to be that Alphx guy. So be Alphx.
Congratulations, guys. I'm going to be a
you.
lifelong underwear customer.
Yes. Thank you.
Yay.
All right, guys. Thanks
Tell
so much.
everyone.
You got it. For more on the show, you can find us on Instagram at Brand Me Podcast or at Preston Konrad. Be sure, of course, to rate, review, and subscribe and share on social. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.